Do young workers need the labor movement? This is something that I always see when I'm in a panel discussion, any type of positive dialogue that's being talked about the labor movement. I even find that some of the supporters may form the argument that we used to be a manufacturing industry, but now we're a service economy, and we really don't need the labor movement. There's laws on the books to protect us now, so we really don't need the labor movement. Even those that's blind to what the labor movement has done due to the fact that they may not teach it in high school or college these days, or if they do teach it, it's only a paragraph. Then we find some states, they even went to the point where they've rewritten history, and you find that the labor movement has been taken out or written off like it doesn't even exist. But for those that form that argument, I always tell them to revert back to history. History has a great point of repeating itself. Let's take back the late 1800s and early 1900s when railroads, steel companies, and banks, they actually controlled our government. They took advantage of workers. They actually did mergers. They swallowed small businesses, any type of competition they may have had, and they did everything to make sure that their interest was represented instead of the workers. And just think back to these times. We went from the late 1800s, early 1900s to 2000. Well, we still see that this is existing. We still see that we have big banks that's too big to fail. The corporate interest is being looked at by our government. The government is actually helping the the big companies, such as the late 1800s and 1900s. We still find that there's underemployment or unemployment that exists in our country. We still see that homes are still being foreclosed on, or small businesses can't get loans and they're going out of businesses. So that's what the competition is actually doing. That's what the competition promotes. I tell them to think back. Think back when, what do corporate interests, what do they always promote? They promote individualism. They promote competition. Forget you, what about me? Well, we look, what does the labor movement promote? They promote solidarity, unionism, working together. And for those that form that argument that we are a service economy, we're a white-collar world at this time, and I always tell them to think back. I was actually reading a story about New Jersey lawyers who actually felt as though it was in their best interest, who are white-collar workers that feel like they weren't doing a great job at representing themselves, but they would do an even better job at bargaining collectively. I tell them to think about, do you really think that businesses are going to do the right thing just because if we didn't have the labor movement? Do you think that they will pay you a good living wage? Do you think that they will offer health care? Do you think that they would set up any type of retirement system for you if they didn't have the labor movement pressuring them to do the right thing? I believe that some businesses would, but I believe even though the businesses that want to do the right thing, eventually they would succumb to the corporate greed of their competition, or they would be swallowed due to the fact that they can't compete because they are paying a living wage, offering health care, and set up some type of retirement system. So that's why we always need the labor movement to pressure large corporations, big business, and our government to regulate the large corporations, to actually make sure that they represent everyone's interests instead of the big CEOs who gets executive packages or golden parachutes, and the large corporations who are too big to fail and they can have their interests represented. We need the labor movement. We need to work in solidarity. We need to make sure that we're moving as a unit. We're moving together, because when we move together, not only do the CEO's interests get represented, but the middle class interests get represented. The poor gets represented. The people that are underemployed or unemployed's interests get represented. And that's when we are a strong economy. That's when America is at its best. So my answer to anyone that asks, do young workers need the labor movement? Yes, we do need the labor movement to make sure that we have a strong economy and that America is successful as usual. Thank you.